So yes, it's finally time for us to take to take a look at the Maximus 11 Extreme. Now, because of the NDA, I'm not allowed to show you performance, so it is just like a preview. It's a good chance for us to have a look, but then we've not really seen any leaks or anything about the Asus board, so this is kind of interesting. If you are interested in the whole range of the Z390 boards, though, you can go to the OC3D website to see loads more. You can also see more videos on the channel if you want to go and take a look there. You can also go on to RushKit. But okie pokey, karaoke. So on to the actual have a look-see. We can have a look around the back of the box. Now, don't forget, you can pause at any moment so that you can freeze in. I will show you a quick pass around so that you can see. I'm not going to talk you all through it because an image says 1,000 words. Now, when we do open the box, what I am going to do is remove the board so that we can sort out what's inside first. I know some people don't care what's in the box, but lots of people do, because this is an expensive board, so people want to know. So you get your sticker pack. These are stickers that you can wrap around your cables so that you can mark them. These are pretty cool. These go on fans. These are the other ones that if you really want to be annoying, go and stick them all over your girlfriend's makeup box or something. Okay, so bottom left hand corner, this one's pretty cool. Other than the screws that are in there, you do get a ROG badge, and it's a thick, proper, like hardcore one. This, it's going to take me ages to get it out, but essentially this is magical because that is your drivers. So you get your drivers on that, and it's like, no CD, thank you. And then when we open this side, you get your manual and loads of bits and bobs in there, including the coaster and stuff. Other things that are in there, this is just your Wi-Fi antenna should you want to use it. It's not magnetic. I wish they kept them magnetic. Over here, a range of stuff. You get 4 SATA cables. You can tell I've taken pictures of this already. You get the fan extender, in case you've not seen one of these. This is just so that you've got some extra PWMs. And there is a cable in this section to connect it up with. You can bang a Molex on it for extra power and stuff as well. You put 1 fan in, you get another 3 out. So it's like a booster, really, like a hub. This is pretty cool. This is the extra M.2 thing, which I'll show you at the top. But what they've done now, they've been putting these on boards for ages, but they've now made heat sinks to go on them. And they're fairly substantial heat sinks when you look at it. So that is a very nice addition. We'll keep that out so that I can show you it on the board itself. You get an SLI bridge, then you get 1, 2, 3 thermal probes, should you want to use them. I'd be pretty careful with thermal probes though, and I say that because anything that you add in is extra wires. So, you know, we need to think about keeping things tidy. Then you get 2 RGB extensions. One's a 3-pin addressable, one's a standard 4-pin. That's your cable for your fan hub thing that I said about, the external fan doofer. And then this is kind of nice because you get 2 more SATA cables, but these ones are braided. And it's a nice soft braid. That's probably the first thing I can say that Asus have actually copied Gigabyte for, rather than the other way around. Shock and horror. So a good overall view of the board first. And I'll put the DIMM 2 up in the top right hand corner just so that you can see where it goes. And this does give you a nice, decent spot for you to be able to put your M.2 in. But it's not the only place for you that you can put the M.2 in, because you have got the ability to pop the top off of the chipset heatsink here. You can see that we've got another mount down the bottom as well, and there's another one that runs down this way as well. So there's a couple of other places. So you do get the normal add-in one here for the chipset, and I believe these are direct into the CPU, so you do have to go careful with the like your graphics cards and your CPU lane alignment and that sort of thing. So a good look at the board. I have got the DIM 2 up in the top right hand corner for you now so that you can see it, but it isn't the only M.2s on the board. You can see that you've got the 110mm long one poking out here with the little mounts, but there's another M.2 mount underneath this as well, and you've got 3 screws that you can pop off should you want to take a look, so should you need to do it. Now, we do have a lot to cover on the board. First of all, there is the 2 8-pins on the top right hand corner of the board, and then if you look slightly further across you can see that we have the 4-pin RGB and a 3-pin RGB. That means that we've got 1 addressable and 1 standard plus your 2 CPU cooler fans. The CPU cooler fans, obviously you've got the normal one and then the CPU optional. But then just on this side as well, I mean there's an awful lot going on this side. These are actually dedicated radiator fans, and that's rad fan, it's rad 1, and then you've got A, B, C, D to count for the 4. So you've got 4 in total on that. Then underneath you've got the memo K switch. Then if you have a look really carefully just underneath the memo K switch, you can see that you've got the CPU, DRAM, VGA and boot lights. Then you get your poster readout, which is good if you are trying to fault find. Then you've got your slow mode and your LN2 mode switches. Then you've got start and reset. The little copper traces that you can see there are so that you can get your multimeter out and measure voltage direct on the board. That might be handy if you've got some software that's not quite calibrated properly for the new board or the new BIOS or something. You can see the list of them down the side. It's actually really good, the fact that I've got it zoomed in, because even I can see that on my camera screen. Then you've got your retry button and your safe boot. Retry button is if your overclock hasn't posted properly, and then rather than pressing reset and you have to go through all the drama about it didn't load properly, change your overclock settings. If you smash the retry button, it does it really clean. It's like you've just done it as a new, like a new start. And then the safe boot, you can actually save some settings in the BIOS, which means that you can have your, let's say for argument's sake, you want to save 4.8 gigahertz at low volts that you know is absolutely 100% stable and will always work. That can be your safe boot button. It can help when you run into issues with your overclocking. When you move slightly further down, you find another 4-pin fan header just here, and your 3.1 external case header there. And then you've also got your other USB 3 one there as well. 6 SATAs, as they always do, or at least most of them have done so far. And then when we scroll down, you get another couple of fan headers. The greeny 3-pin fan header here is actually for a water flow sensor. The 2 connectors just underneath are for a temperature in and out. This is basically your water cooling section. We can zoom in so that you can get a better idea. If the camera's going to let us zoom in that far, that is. I don't think it will. Anyway. So then underneath that you've got your BIOS switch, because there are 2 BIOSes on there so you can flick between them. The little black header that's above, that's actually your external fan header. I've shown you the cable, I showed you the little PCB. Straight in the bottom corner there, that's just your front panel headers. That's all nice and easy. You've got a couple of thermal probes down here. I'm just going to balance the board on the outside just so that you can see. So you've got a thermal probe there at the top, and then you've got the speaker header. Just to the left of that, you can see you've got another 4 radiator fan headers. So you've got RAD 2 A, B, C, D, and then you've got a USB 3, another USB 3. But it's actually nice to see, as we've been seeing with a lot of these, 2 USB 2s, which is epic because they started to cut them out on the last ones, and we actually need quite a few of these. Then you get your Asus node header. This is a new header, but you're going to have to get used to it. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming for that in the not too distant future. We've not got anything at launch yet, but you will start to see them dwindle through. And then you've got your another RGB 4-pin and 3-pin, so standard, and then the addressable. When we scroll across, go past the front panel audio header, you can scroll up past the Supreme FX. And then I'll show you that there's another fan header there, kind of where you would expect it, just underneath the I/O. Something that they are doing, which is pretty cool. You can see that the PCI Express there is marked CPU. And if you go down to the next one, you'll see that's marked CPU as well. But when you go to the last one, it's not. And essentially, what that means is The two metal covered ones are wired into the CPU. That's where you share the PCI Express lanes from. And then this one and this one are actually wired into the chipset, which is something you do need to realise. That also means that this won't work for triple SLI or Crossfire, but you wouldn't really want to anyway. Okay, so other things to talk about while we are here is I'm not allowed to show you the board powered up, but I do have a magical way that I can, and the reason why I'm not allowed to show you it powered up is it would mean I have to put a CPU in it, but I can show you some magical stuff to do with the way that we light the boards here. But when we zoom the board round so that we can have a look at the I/O, so we've got a clear BIOS button, and then we've got the BIOS flashback button. If you want to use the BIOS flashback, you need to make sure that you put it in here. You also need to make sure that you name the BIOS file correctly. So for example, this is Maximus 11 Extreme. So I would assume this would be M11X. No, M11E, because if it was Maximus 8 Extreme, it would be M8E. Now, the reason why I say that, you have to get the naming right. If you get the naming right, that's how you get the BIOS flashback to work properly. It has to have the correct name on it. So then you do get a selection of USB 3 Gen 1, and you've also got some Gen 2, which you can see that we've got the SSD 10 here. This is nice that they're marking them separately. You can also see that we've got a gigabit Ethernet here, but we've also got a 5 gigabit Ethernet on this one. When it does come to gigabit Ethernet, it's not going to make your internet faster. Having faster gigabit connections means that it's mainly about the internal network side of things. So if you've got a 5 or a 10 gigabit switch, then this will work with that and you'll get a nice boost. But if you've only got a gigabit switch or a gigabit output on your router, it's not going to magically make it any quicker. But it does give you a bit of headroom should you want to upgrade the rest of your kit around it. You may need to change up to Cat 6 or Cat 7 cables as well, because I don't think Cat 5e can cope with 5G. But then when we go down a little bit further, you've got your Wi-Fi, and then you've also got gold-plated connectors for your audio. Strange angle, but it does give us a decent view of the power delivery for the CPU and the heat sinks. There is a lot of material on these heat sinks, but you can also see that because they've done the cutouts, it means we've got a lot of surface area as well. So that's all going to work well with keeping temperatures down, which is obviously going to be something I'm going to pay a lot of attention to. You can also see the two 8-pins at the top here, which I have already mentioned. This also does give us a good view of how much the I/O does overhang. Now it is metal, but it's not attached. It's metal, it's like very thin aluminium that hangs over the side of it, but there is a decent amount, if I move it around, of like gap underneath. So it's not like it's touching, and again, it's not like it's, you can still get air in and around there, but we'll see whether it makes any difference when we do our testing. Back of the board, you do get a half shield, which goes down this side, but it does kind of cover up the reason why it's there, and that is, you can see that we've got an acrylic section here, and I need to turn the lights off. And that's because they've put RGBs down the back. Now I'm still not sure about how I feel about this, being how overclock dedicated this is, and I do think this feature, for me personally, would be better suited to the Formula. And I think we could go extreme with the extreme and not have it being Christmas tree extreme. I think we could just go performance extreme. But let me know what you think about this. This side of the board I kind of like. It does actually work kind of well. You can also see that there are some like bare traces down the outside, so it bleeds onto the board nice. You can see it lighting my finger up. So this does look nice. It's also going to sit about right with the ROG Eye being underneath a graphics card, which works kind of well. And the other thing is when this was off, as you've seen before, you couldn't see any of these traces. So if you didn't want the RGB on, it wouldn't look too out of place. You do get some over the top section over here, and then obviously you can see, but not very well because I've not zoomed in, the ROG Strix, yeah, all right, Thomas. The Republic of Gamers OLED panel up there, which you can set up to do multiple things. You can actually, you can set it up in the software. You can have your own logo on it if you want. We had one with the Overclock 3D logo on it once. Also, just quickly, where I've got power to the board now, you can see that the audio around the back actually has the lighting coming out of it. So when you're looking around the back in the dark, or maybe not even in the dark. One thing I would have liked with these though is little plastic covers to have gone over the top of them, so that if you weren't using them, for example, you then didn't have them shining up your wall. So maybe that's something that you can find cheap enough on eBay, I don't know. Other thing to talk about just quickly is the power and the reset switch. They light up white, and you can also see, if you look really carefully, you can see that there is a red light over here underneath the 8-pin, and it's basically something that they've carried over from the graphics cards, and because the power connector's not in there delivering power, it's being picked up, and you've got the light popping up to basically tell you that there's nothing there. So if you've got your cable connected properly, that light will go away. So it's a big old beefy board, and it kind of needs to be because the bar has been set very high by the previous generation extremes. I'm genuinely hoping that we're going to see some really good things with this. One of the things I have noticed though is you've not seen a water cooling header or anything on the top. They did try that in the past, and this one hasn't got one, so maybe that's a sign of things to come with the Node. But I honestly don't know. I don't actually know what they're going to be doing with that Node switch, but exciting times ahead. There's obviously not a lot of time between now and the launch of the main CPU launch and all that sort of stuff, but I am going to try and get this review done for the big main launch. So if you are interested, make sure you come back on the 19th and we'll see how many boards I've managed to do. But I hope you've enjoyed the preview that I've done for you today. Don't forget, I've only been allowed to do a preview. If you are watching this later on, don't forget that if it's gone past the 19th of October, you can go and find the full reviews now, or you can drop us a message in the comments and we'll be able to answer for you when they'll be coming. But for now at least, Logan out.